Welcome to Module 3 of the Project Learning Plan, Scaffolding and Workshops. This is probably the most important piece. I know I say that for everyone. Oh, the skills are the most important. The launch and the literacy are the most important. Nope, the all three are vital, but this is going to be where your project's made or break. It's a make or break. The first thing we have to do is we have to split up what you're going to be doing. Your project, you got to split it into manageable pieces, because most students, they cannot handle, here, you have 3 weeks, get this done. I mean, most professionals don't handle that very well. When they get a big project or a big presentation to do at work, you just do it, you know. When I put my PDs together, I split them up into I do a 3-day PD. I split them up by day, by slot, you know. I mean, so this my typical 3-day PD has 7 modules every day, and the idea is that it makes it more manageable for me to present. It makes it more manageable for the teachers that are listening to the PD to get. And it's the same with projects, is kids have to have that kind of flexible nature to them where it's not all at one point, because all at one point is going to be overwhelming and it's going to freak them out. So it doesn't really matter how many phases you use. If you want to extend this Turnet landscape, put 17 phases, you can. But you need to break up the project, because I typically go with a 3 or 4 week project. I typically have 3 phases. And so my first phase right here, and if you'll notice, for each one, we talk about specific skills. Everything goes back to these skills up here. All right, so looking at this, I'm going to focus on the foundational skills first. Recognizing sentence structure, looking at good and bad evidence, looking at what is being able to recognize what a good paragraph is, what a bad paragraph is. You may not be able to know why it is yet, but you can tell, well, this one's not a very good paragraph, this one is. And then looking at those parts of speech and the basic fundamentals of grammar. I could also add on here the basic fundamentals of the writing process as a foundational skill, because I said that up above, where the writing process was an important aspect. All right, so now those are the specific skills I have for that part of the project, for the first week, maybe week and a few days. All right, moving on to the second phase. All right, now I want them to be able to diagram a sentence. It's a skill that they need to have. They need to be able to pick out the different parts of speech in a sentence and be able to show me who the subject is and where the verb is. And they're going to need some foundational skills, which is why this specific skill is in this category and not over here. They're going to be choosing the right evidence for themselves, which goes back to this good and bad evidence, good and bad writing. They're going to be able to punctuate effectively, and they're going to be able to use persuasive protocol or persuasive procedures, making those ethos, logos, and pathos. All right. And then finally, in specific skills for the last phase, I want them to be able to use the appropriate part of speech, analyze evidence for clarity and strength. I want them to take and develop some of those technical writing skills, which is more taking out some of the voice. And then I want them to be able to use their voice effectively when it's time. So talking about, kind of when you write instructions, you don't want to be you want to be a little more robotic in your writing. But then when you're writing an expository piece that you're allowed to have an opinion about, definitely make yourself ooze out of the paper. So those are the skills. And I know I'm not using the same terminology up here, but I'm using a lot of the similar terminology, and I'm using a lot of the skills kind of in teacher speak. So now, projected discovery markers. These are going to be kind of those need to knows. What do I think they need to know in order to do this? Well, they need to know what a sentence diagram is here for this one. They need to be able to know what is the right evidence. They need to know how do you punctuate effectively, and they need to know what are the persuasive procedures. Here in the second phase, they're going to still need to know how do you diagram a sentence. They're going to want to know how to quote in text. And they're also going to need to start beginning to develop this public service announcement, and they're going to need some formula stuff for that. And then really look at how do we write to persuade. Finally, when we move over here, how is tech writing different from normal, and how do we incorporate voice and style? And those are going to be the two workshop, or the two, my kind of the need to knows that I'm expecting them to need. All right, so for this first workshop, we're going to do a part of speech workshop. It's where I play a lot of the Schoolhouse Rock videos. You unpack your adjectives, right? All those. And we talk about parts of speech. We will look at our example writing, and we'll look at, looking at evidence for clarity and strength. And we'll do a workshop on technical writing and student voice. Here in the middle one, we're going to do sentence strips. And we're going to give them a lot of practice using sentence strips. We're going to use technology. There's some wonderful, wonderful lit games out there that we can play. We're going to do some peer editing work, which kind of gets back to that foundational skill of, hey, when you write it, it's not done. We're going to do a plagiarism workshop, and we're going to do a persuasive workshop. And if you'll notice, I don't have anything here in this last box because I don't know right now. I would imagine we might do a public service announcement, a PSA workshop. But I'm leaving that blank because it's going to be based on where we're at and what we need. As I said, flexibility is key here. And so looking at where my students are, what do they need to get themselves over the top? We might need a presentation workshop. We might need a Microsoft Publisher workshop. We might need a PowerPoint workshop. Whatever they need, we'll do it. All right. Milestones down here. So these are what I'm looking for to see them move from phase 1 to phase 2. We're going to do some daily oral language formative assessment. All right. It's going to tell me where they're at in terms of punctuation. It's going to tell me where they're at in terms of grammar. And so we're going to do some formative assessment with our DOLs. For those of you who are like teach to the test, this is also going to give me a good opportunity to work on those revising and editing skills that you find on the EOC, at least we do here in Texas. Milestone number 2 is going to be this individual model paragraph. All right, before they can teach everybody what a model paragraph should look like, they have to be able to write one themselves. And so their milestone here is going to be to do that college essay first essay. All right, and then finally their last phase, their milestone is the PSA presentation. All right, now here's the reflection question. The reflection question asks, have I provided ample time for scaffolding and foundation work required of this project? Where is time allotted to reteach and remediate? Well, 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm thinking we have, at minimum 1 week for each phase, plus work time. It might be cutting it close. We might be more on the 4 week, but given that I have leeway to take as long as I need, if I have to go an extra week, I can go an extra week. So I do think I have time. And then I only have like 8 workshops planned right now. I only have 8 workshops planned. And so I can do mini workshops. I can do some mini practices where it's not, I use a warm-up to do something versus, making it the full-on impetus of the class. So I think I have time. And then not having anything planned right now for this last phase, that gives me a lot of flexibility because that can either turn into just straight-up work time where my students have all the skills, they just need the time to work, or if we need to do like one-on-one or small group or, all right, guys, optional workshop here. And that's another thing is some of these may end up being optional where I don't do them for the entire class. I just do them for those that really need it. So like maybe this sentence strip, for example, if you have students that are scoring, 100%, 95% on the formative assessments, do they need to go through and practice using sentence strips? Probably not. So that's something I can probably just do with the strugglers, the ones that need a little extra help. And then always I'm available after class and before class, and we can do group work as well as individual work. So, I do think that we have time built in to make sure everyone's successful. So this is the phase, and basically this will give me kind of a calendar for the next month, and I'll go through and do daily lesson plans based off of this. The nice part is we do I can statements. I'm sure people do other things where they have to talk about what skills. Well, here are my I can statements. When we're working on sentence structure, my students can recognize sentence structure. I can analyze good and bad evidence in a model paragraph. I can determine parts of speech. I can diagram a sentence. I can choose the right evidence in a model paragraph for myself. I can punctuate it. And so it works really nice and keeps administrators off my back because I have it all right here as well as spelling it out for them. All right, this concludes the PLP. I will make mention here, you look at the bottom. This PLP was derived from resources and training provided by NewTek, the NewTek network, and their URL is down there at the bottom. It's also derived from research from the Buck Institute. And so those are two resources you definitely want to look into. The one thing I will say about this is it can change. If it doesn't work for you, make it work for you. And that's something I pulled from both NewTek and Buck is their PLPs are phenomenal. But there are aspects that did not work for me and my school. And so that's where this form came from, was we tweaked it to make it work for us. So tweak this, make it work for you. If you not sure where to go, if you're confused, if you need help, go ahead, hit me at Buckner Class on Twitter, and I'll be more than happy to walk you through it. But thank you for watching the video series, and good luck planning your PBLs.